Wow, this episode has done so much to convince me that Aglae is Lila. I'm sure some of you would be under the impression that it would convince me the opposite, but not so. You may notice that my voice sounds quite different. It's because my microphone's not working. This has not been a great month for me. This is the latest episode we've gotten in the production order, so until further indicated, I'm just going to assume it's the latest in the timeline. It starts with the lollipop villain derailing a train. Is that August's new villain form? And if it is, I guess having his anger constantly turn into a giant lollipop monster has really had a big influence on his mind. Vesperia shows up to slow the train down before it falls over, sentencing Twitter to another 10 years of Queen Bee discourse. But then Aglae falls through the windshield and has to be saved by Ladybug. And then she displays that she's so scared of insects that she's also scared of Ladybug. This is the basis of the plot. And it's a pretty interesting idea, but I have further issues with the decisions they've made, and I have things I do like about it. When the friend group talked to her about helping her with her problem, the show reveals one of its most incredible twists. There is a therapist in the school. Yeah, I know, I couldn't believe it either. We get the reveal that Max is on the autism spectrum, and an explanation of what that means. At first, I wondered if this was a bit of clunky exposition for the kids, but I suppose it's not impossible that Adrien has never heard of autism and needed it explained to him. He's only 14. I've seen people talk about the representation in this season as if it means that the show is not that flawed, and I'm just gonna say, no, it's still flawed. Now it's just flawed and has good representation. Maybe I've become too cynical, but I have become suspicious of if minorities are being used as criticism shields. I think the thing that's most baffled people though is the idea that only one person in this scene has autism while Marinette Dupain-Cheng is standing right there. I'd be less inclined to believe that Marinette needed the fact that Adrien needs professional therapy explained to her, but I suspect that it's because she's lying through her teeth because she doesn't want Adrien making discoveries and talking about Gabe to someone other than her in case she can't control what he says. Not gonna lie, that's still kinda toxic. This episode is low-key a PSA for therapy, but it's integrated into the narrative just enough that I'm willing to say it doesn't sound preachy. Does therapy work for fictional characters though? It's not like we're watching this show because we want to see the characters become well-rounded people by talking to a counselor in a healthy manner. I want all the mentally ill drama and destruction. I want Adrien yelling at a giant statue of his father as it breaks into pieces, not dealing with his problems in a healthy, non-magical manner. I'm mostly joking. I don't think the presence of therapy is gonna change how the season's gonna go. Okay, let's address Aglae. Because I wasn't that big into the idea that she's Lila, but this episode has made me think it's more of a possibility. Honestly, it's made me think it's more of a possibility so much that I'm kind of surprised a lot of people walked away thinking that it wasn't. But before I put my conspiracy hat on, some praise. Once again, I'm glad the show has recently learned how to do world building because Aglae's whole thing of being scared of butterflies because of the near-death experience caused by an akuma is great. One issue though, I'm pretty sure people are supposed to forget the experience of dying because otherwise everyone in the city would be a nervous wreck. Does everyone Timebreaker touched remember slowly fading out of existence? We see Chloe and Sabrina being brought back, which means she did touch them even after going back in time. Unless... I'll save that for another video. God damn it, this was supposed to be the praise section, but now I'm thinking that having only one person be scared of butterflies might actually make it worse because it makes me wonder why no one else is. Unless this is all a lie. Okay, so there have been opinions about this episode and if Aglae is Lila. People walked away from it convinced in one direction or the other. I'm more convinced that she's Lila. For starters, she seems to be Lila's first public akumatization, which is such a monumental position to occupy that I find it hard to believe it's relegated to a minor character's flashback. And she turned into a butterfly? At this point, the writers want us to be suspicious. The clues are so blatant that if she isn't, then she's just a red herring. I mean, the first akumatization of season 2 was Gabriel faking it, and this season has been full of references. I'm sure this is how Gabriel would sound if he was asked to describe the Collector. And Gabriel has created more than one villain despite knowing that they would directly target him. There's also the fact that Aglae is conveniently alone when Dr. Sikat is akumatized or communicating with Chrysalis. You may point out that the butterfly came from a different direction or that she didn't have much time, but A, I've watched this show enough to know that they are willing and able to write around that. B, unless Lila did blackface in sublimation, it's almost certain she has helpers who can hold on to the butterflies for her. We know that they can be contained in things like jars without spreading. So it's entirely possible that while Aglae went in one direction, a helper released the butterfly somewhere else. C. This season has given us some evidence that there's some time dilation happening when Chrysalis is talking to people. The villains seem to slow down as we zoom into their heads to see the conversations they have, and I don't think Roger was still driving for 30 seconds while he was talking to her, completely zoned out. So yeah, I don't think that's a completely valid rebuttal. I mean, her evidence that she was victimized by Timebreaker is a picture of nothing. Who would even have taken that picture? Timebreaker 1 and 2 would have caught them too.
What is all this gibberish?
It's gonna be a long night.
This theory doesn't even really need the Chop Trio to be working for her. She could have just baited them while purposefully leaving an Akuma to target herself. It's not an airtight plan, but it's the kind of plan that this show would treat as airtight. The biggest thing really in the way is that she seemed to genuinely have a fear of insects. But assuming that the fear is just exaggerated, it may just be an interesting thing to add to Lila's character. Wouldn't be the first retcon involving her. Okay, maybe it's a bit disingenuous to anticipate retcons in my theorizing of how Lila is supposed to be acting. Aglae's genuine fear and how Chrysalis doesn't seem to have changed after it's removed is almost the biggest barrier to this theory. The most solid explanation I can come up with is that she just put a glitch in the villain's power so that it wouldn't affect her the same way it affects everyone else. In the same way that she has it so the transformations the villains induce in others make the miraculous fall off the heroes. As for the fact that they called Aglae's dad, until they explain how Lila has 3 moms, that's nothing. So, I believe that's everything. Oh right, there's still an episode to discuss. Yet another akumatization Aglae causes. Of course the therapist needs therapy. I already said I love Chrysalis akumatizations, and I'm not stopping now. Twisting the doctor's rejection into an acceptance of being able to help people is great. I think this whole scene is a step in the right direction for having dynamic fights with multiple heroes facing weight. I just realized that they should have switched to their spacesuits in order to catch up to her easily. The power scaling side of me has been theorizing that they have the same travel speed even without the suits, so they only transform if the enemy can fly. But this episode is definitely not operating under that idea, because otherwise there is no way Aglae would have been able to not be captured immediately. The speed of those spacesuits is closer to that of light than that of sound. Anyway, this is a step in the right direction for having more dynamic villain fights despite the many heroes, with Purple Tigress, Renard Rouge and Multi-Mouse contributing in interesting and different ways. Pegasus was there too, but his power is so convenient and OP it makes things way too easy. Like, Tigress misses her hits a bunch, Polymouse has to work to help, and Renard's maze illusion is clever and takes more effort and doesn't automatically solve the problem the way just teleporting people into the car does. Speaking of Tigress, nice to see Jolika's back. I thought it was really funny how trigger happy she was with her clout. Look how mad she is that she missed. Love her. Shad gets caught and has his fear of having his identity revealed removed. I feel he'd have worse fears than just that. The anti-akumas are stupid, but I was willing to tolerate them as a way to counter the heroes having infinite use of their abilities. But they've only really been used to abuse Adrien, and call me... My lawyers have advised that I redact this name. And trust me, it's not whichever one you're thinking of, because I'm not feeling as tolerant as I was previously. Anyway, they drop the car in the river, poured in, fight Wreckless Driver, put a sandwich in Shat's mouth so he doesn't reveal his identity. How does eating a Lucky Charm work? Purple Tigress punches all the water out of the river. I just know she was so happy she finally got to hit things with it. And they akumatized Dr. Sikat. That name feels like a pun. It also feels like I'm probably saying it wrong. The whole last review I was just consistently getting Undine's name wrong. The episode ends with the friends helping Aglae enter the butterfly house, temporarily living with her fear before she has to step out once it starts to overcome her. It's a sweet moment and the actual strongest indication that Aglae is real because, like, would the writers really undermine this by having her be Lila the whole time? Yes. Lila, meanwhile, is talking about how Ladybug will tell her her identity, but not in the way that she thinks. This will be so dumb if there isn't a payoff. And finally, the episode ends and Adrien goes to therapy. Natalie, you're doing a terrible job if this is the first time he's getting sent to it. Good episode, and better than Sleeping Siren. I definitely got really distracted with theorizing, but I enjoyed it, and if the criticisms in this script are the only ones I thought of while sitting on it for over a day, I'm happy with it. If Aglae is a real person, she's an excellent addition to the cast whose biggest flaw is making me wonder why there aren't more people like her. How is she the first character acting properly traumatized? It's extremely likely, no, it's pretty much guaranteed that there are hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands. How many people live in Paris? Anyway, there are thousands of people in Paris who have definitely drowned to death at least 3 separate times. Undine is a menace. The show continues to make me expect that the Adrien/Marinette drama is leading somewhere good. Don't disappoint me. Shout out to my patrons and channel members, A, Skyman, Technopark, and Jark Evolved. What did you think of the episode and this video? Tell me in the comments below, and while you're at it, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more, hype the video if you really liked it, and check out my channel for more content. Thank you, and good day.